Hi guys, I'm Laura Vitale, and on this episode of Laura in the Kitchen, I want to share with you how to make a delicious spiced chickpea, sweet potato, delicious stew. It's really wonderful. It's a perfect recipe to use any leftover bits and pieces that you may have in your pantry, in your fridge, like if you've got a different kind of bean or say a yellow lentil, it would be great for this. If you don't have sweet potatoes but you have regular potatoes, it would be great for this. It's really fantastic and it's super easy to make. I have a recipe on my website, my sort of Indian spiced lentils that we love. I love it, love it, love it. It was one of Mia's favorites when she was a baby. And I kind of wanted to take those same flavor profiles and just turn it into a little bit more of a soupy stew situation. And I added a little bit of coconut milk and it just made it phenomenal. So I'm thrilled to share it with you. The ingredients are not very many, but they're all the right ones. You'll need some chickpeas. These are just 3 cans of chickpeas that I have drained and rinsed. I've got some full fat coconut milk. I've got some sweet potato that I've peeled and diced. In here I've got whole cumin seeds and whole coriander seeds, chili powder, turmeric, and some garam masala. You'll need some garlic, some ginger, some onion, some salt, some pepper, some olive oil, and then a greens of your choice. I'm going to actually use a mixture of kale and chard today, but you can use either. You can use both. You can use spinach, whatever your heart desires. I really like the combination of the two, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I've got some olive oil in my Dutch oven preheating. I'm going to go ahead and chop up a fairly small, I would say maybe medium-sized onion. The onion will caramelize slightly and kind of lend a beautiful sweetness to the dish, along with the sweet potato. I love the sweet potato here because I feel like it does 2 things. It kind of adds a little sweetness, but it also allows the soupy stew to get that perfectly thick consistency that you love, that it's so comforting and oh, it's glorious. In the meantime, while the onions are sweating and they're doing their thing, I'm going to add a pinch of salt just to help them out along a little bit. While that happens, I'm going to go ahead and just crush up my whole spices. You can use regular ground cumin and regular ground coriander, but I think when you have a spiced dish such as this, a little bit of those seeds popping through and just sort of biting on them as you eat is magical. Now, I would normally toast the seeds first before crushing them, but I'm actually going to bloom them into the olive oil when the onions are ready, so I don't have to do that because I'd be doing it twice and I don't want to waste time because I'm hungry. So I've got cumin seeds. I'm going to add, I love cumin seeds. Anytime you see me use cumin seeds, chances are I'm also going to add some coriander seeds because I think the 2 together are pretty phenomenal. I'm going to add about 2 teaspoons of each. You could go a little heavier handed. In fact, I just might. I'll go closer to a tablespoon each. I want this to be really fragrant and wonderful. I'm not going to pulverize them completely because, again, I don't want to lose all the texture, but I'm probably just going to go about halfway. So I've got some finely ground and some still whole. Okay, chopped up some garlic. I'm not going to make it too fine because it doesn't really matter. It's going to cook for a while. Add that right in. My onions are starting to get some color, cook down. That looks gorgeous. At this point, I'm also going to go ahead and add my ginger. I'm using ginger paste because I find it easier to store and easier to keep on hand. And I really don't love peeling ginger, so that is like the best thing. So at this point, while the onions and the garlic and the ginger are cooking for just a couple of minutes, I'm going to go ahead and add in my partially crushed up spices just to bloom them and give them really beautiful flavor. And you won't believe what happens in your kitchen when you add spices to a hot pan, whether it's oil or just a dry skillet. It instantly just smells so incredible. It's unbelievable. That smells so good. I'm just going to crank this up a little tiny bit. I'm going to let those sort of cook, bloom, do their magic for a couple of minutes. Adding my chickpeas, giving them a minute to kind of get to know the olive oil with the spices. At this point, I'm also going to go ahead and add my ground spices. It's like I said, it's always nice to add your spices, whether ground or whole, just to a little oil or a dry skillet to bloom them first. It does make a world of a difference. It allows the oils to really bloom and their flavors to really just permeate. Oh, it smells so good in here. And it already took on the most gorgeous color. And now I'm just going to add everything else. I'm going to add the coconut milk. I'm using full fat, but I have also had really good luck using light coconut milk here, so whatever floats your boat. And some water. I would use normally stock, but I feel like because of the spices, we have so many beautiful flavors going on, I don't even think you need the stock, but if you wanted to use veggie, chicken, whatever, go for it. Sweet potato. This looks great. I'm going to give it a really good generous pinch of salt. And now I'm going to bring this to a boil, and then I'm going to partially cover it, turn it down, and let it simmer until the sweet potato is really lovely and tender. And then we will move on to the next step. All right, it's been about 45 minutes. It looks fantastic. The potatoes are really soft. I'm going to come in here really quickly with a potato masher. This is not required at all, but I like to give it just a few mashes, if you will. I find that it breaks down the chickpeas and the potatoes a little bit, and it does give your stew a little bit more of an interesting texture, and it just thickens it up slightly. I don't like to do it a lot because I don't want a completely pureed smooth soup. I'm increasing the heat a little bit. Now what I have in here is some Tuscan kale and some chard. I've removed the stems from both. Like I said, it's up to you what you want to use in terms of your greens, or you don't have to use any at all. And it's totally up to you how much greens you want to add. Do you want a lot of greens in a little soup, or more soup and less greens? It's completely up to you. I'm going to add probably half of this for now, just because I want you to be able to see what this stew kind of looks like once all the greens have wilted. It doesn't take very long. It's probably just going to take a few minutes, and I do like to put the lid on. Just going to add a small little handful. I'm going to put the lid on and let that bubble away for a few minutes. I'm going to serve it with some basmati rice, a squeeze of lime, which kind of brings everything together and makes everything just come alive, and a few sprigs of cilantro. I think all of those combined really round off this dish and kind of balance the tiny bit of heat that you get from the chili, a little sweetness you're getting from the coconut and the sweet potato, and it is just flavor heaven. My mouth is watering. So in just a couple of minutes, I'm going to take this off the heat. I've already tasted it for seasoning. I added a pinch of salt, and everything is pretty much done. So I'm going to grab my rice, and then we serve. Heat off, and that is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. If you want it thicker, simmer it a little bit longer, or just add a little less liquid. But to me, this is kind of perfect because it's liquidy enough to kind of allow the rice to absorb all the, it's just so good. It's just so good. You're going to have to trust me. The color is perfection. It's just enough greens for me because I do like the flavor of chard, but I don't want to overpower. Squeeze of lime. Like I said, it kind of makes everything come alive. Beautiful. It is perfection in a bowl. Perfect for a weeknight, but beautiful enough to entertain with. Maybe get some naan. That's really all you'll need, and it is perfection. Like I said, change the beans if you want to, add lentils if you want to. You could add chicken if you wanted to make it heartier. It's up to you, but I think this is mighty perfect. Go to laurainthekitchen.com, get the written recipe. I hope you've enjoyed spending time with me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.